People who cut off their family, what did they to you? Aunt in the rich part of the family made my mother clean their bathrooms one day when she told them we couldn't afford food. Unlucky situation, both parents unemployed within days, instead of just helping her out. They didn't even pay her, they gave her food they had prepared that day and some potatoes and oil. From that day on, my mother was so hurt and felt so humiliated I decided to pretend they don't even exist. Had a rich uncle who paid my cousin to do some landscaping work for him because the city was going to give him a citation at a business he owned. So my cousin, his stepdad and a friend wake up super early and go to war with basically a ponding area that turned into Jurassic Park. It was brutal backbreaking work that took them all day. They even left all the bag trash grass weeds out for display so my uncle could see just how much work they had to do. My uncle gave my cousin some folded money and took off. My cousin assumed it was a few $100. It ended up being $20. He apologized to the guys who helped him and bought them some beer. I cut out my mother's side of the family. Her sister and brother made it their personal goal to financially ruin my parents. Then the other sister piled on. All three of them had been borrowing money from my grandparents for years, and when the other sister sold my grandparents' house out from under them, because they can't live on their own anymore, my grandparents were appalled when they were told by my aunt that she was putting them in a home. So they lived with my parents instead, and the other siblings accused my parents of taking their inheritance. They harassed, stalked, and vandalized my parents' property until both grandparents were dead. I will never forgive them and hope their own children treat them as poorly as they treated my parents and grandparents. While they really were evil and greedy people, just saw their parents as a bank account. My cousin had addiction problems, and just burned every bridge in our family. Used to be we'd buy him food and stuff he needs instead of just giving him money because it'd go straight to more drugs, but he eventually became so toxic we couldn't even do that. They threatened my life and then reported me to my country's officials for being a runaway. I was 26, a heathen, a whore, and I wish this was a joke, a witch. All are crimes in my country. So yes, I have nothing to do with them anymore. When you say all are crimes, does that include being a witch? Like, are there actually laws against being a witch? Either way, I'm sorry that happened to you. I hope you're doing better without them. Unfortunately, yes. My country is a religious autocracy. I am doing a lot better without them. Healing and living. Iran? Saudi Arabia. Across the Gulf. My father was an abusive alcoholic who left us when I was a teen. He was clearly not okay mentally. We reconnected in my early 20s, and when I finally started to build my trust for him again, he disappeared. He tried to reconnect with me a year later when he needed something. I haven't spoken to him since then. I didn't, they did. I decided to leave Mormonism and they chose the church over me. My cousin, still a 12-year-old child at this point, lost both her parents, and the family had to help her sell her parental house. Long story short, one of my aunts secretly sold the house without telling anyone and kept the profit, $250,000, for herself. Everyone thought the house was still up for sale until the real estate agent informed my cousin's actual guardian, a different aunt, that my other aunt had sold the house and he thought it was sketchy. Good news though, my aunt was sued, had to pay everything back, and the $250,000 was directly deposited into my cousin her bank account, and my aunt received an additional $50,000 fine she had to pay my cousin and guardian aunt for emotional damage. Mind you, the new buyers of the house were also victims here. But they were given their money back, and bought the house back via the correct way. We do not speak about this aunt anymore. My mother used to beat the shit out of me on a daily basis. Lashed out for no reason than me being a child. Woke me up in the middle of the night to give me cold showers because I did something she judged to be out of line. It was really bullshit reasons most of the time. Put my face in garbage full of maggots because I forgot to tie the garbage bag before putting in the bin. Mind you, I was still a child. She always did this when no one was home, and I was so afraid to say anything that my sister and dad didn't know it was happening until I told them a few years ago. I'm 29 now, with BPD, PTSD and anxiety because of all of this. I'm still struggling with all the emotions I lived during my childhood. To this day, she still doesn't understand why I don't want anything to do with her. She still calls my sister to get her to convince me to get in contact with her. My sister hasn't nagged me with this since she found out what happened. Now I'm living with my girlfriend, who is the most wonderful and loving person ever. I'm glad I don't live in fear anymore. I have a similar story. My mother used to rub chili into my eyes to pacify me. Most of the time, she would also physically tie me up or pin my face down on the floor. She would also constantly compare me and put me down. Unlike your sister, my sisters helped her in doing all of this. Their actions have left me deeply traumatized and with a host of mental health issues. Everyone thinks my mother is the loveliest lady alive on earth. But that is far from the truth. I'm older now. About your age, almost. My sisters regret their role in what had happened in my childhood and have tried to make it up to me in their own ways. But my mother is still in denial. Last time I brought it up with her, she sought to justify her awful behavior. A few months ago, I realized that the best thing to do, for my mental health and happiness, was to cut her off. Even recalling all of this, through these words, is painful, but I wanted to just let you know that I can relate with you very deeply, and that I hope you are doing okay now. My sister was cut off about 10 years ago after several incidents involving her spreading rumors about me at my work for a third time. She told one of my boss that I was a hard drug user. I never touched the stuff. She kept doing that after I warned her. I cut off the rest of my family when I confronted them about multiple historical events of physical abuse and torture from when I was a kid. They refused to talk about it and were verbally abusive about it. I cut them off about 5 years ago, and my life has taken a positive turn since. Grew up in an explosive and abusive household. When I was finally able to move out, I started distancing myself. Mom went off the deep end. Started out accusing me of sleeping with every single person I know, yes, every person, coming up with outlandish stories for why I was an awful person. When I cut her off completely, she started stalking me. I changed my number and moved to a new state. I did not give anyone, including my brother, my new home address, and started receiving cards in the mail from her last year. Legal action is probably called for. It's absolutely warranted, but I've never been able to afford a lawyer, and cops don't really take things seriously when it's your mother. Grandmother told me that's what I get for having children out of wedlock when my infant son died. Yeeted her ass right out the front door. Have not spoken to her in about 10 years. From what I've heard from an uncle, she is dying of a brain tumor. Could not happen to a more deserving person. I grew up in a family that looked perfect from the outside. 4 kids and parents as a solid unit. One thing we never talked about was Dad's explosive anger, which led to episodes that he would never apologize for. Just be nice later, and we would all just brush it under the rug. Cut to my age of 31, and I had been working with my father as a financial planner for 6 years, helping grow our client base. My mother and younger sister work with us as well as assistants. Only problem is every 6 months to a year I'd get fired by my dad. Massive blow up and a "fuck you, I have everything and you have nothing. Get out and I will never talk to you again." Then he would be nice in a day or two, make some promises to put things in writing, and we'd all just forget it. But you only want to bring up that contract so many times before you worried you would cause another episode. He would say things like, "You really think I would throw you, my daughter-in-law and grandkids out on the street?" You would think no, of course not. It is what you threaten, and I do get scared, but no, he wouldn't actually do that. Surprise, that's what happens. Business value almost triples. He tortures me until I lose 17 pounds, and I'm a skinny guy, and I quit. Walk away with nothing. We end up hiring a company that works with family businesses for over $20,000 to help solve our family crisis. Specialists, psychologists, and lawyers all involved. They write a report after interviewing every family member multiple times for hours and hours, including my siblings that don't work there. Report comes out, my dad loses his mind. Fires the company that wrote the report. I make peace that it is all over. Start interviewing to just work at the bank. I have not been paid in almost 6 months. I have 2 daughters, 3 years old and 1 year old. But my dad comes back and starts making promises again, rehires the family business specialists. We have a meeting where I agree to not take the position at the bank after 3 successful interviews. I will manage the business while my father vacations for a month, and he will sell me my own clients. But I agree cause I don't really want to work at the bank. My dad leaves on his trip. I think things are finally getting worked out, for the 10th time, but he comes back a month later and won't answer my calls. I go and see him in the office and bring my 1-year-old who hasn't seen for 4 months. He says he is going to finalize the list of clients I am to buy. I haven't talked to my dad since. That was over 6 years ago. He ended up getting me fired from our investment dealer because I contacted his clients, even though he had either never met them or they were some of my best friends. Then he sued me. I had no money or any way to fight him, so I just abandoned everything and started over. I don't talk to my dad, mom, brother, older sister, grandma, aunts, uncles, cousins, and many family friends. They all got my father's narrative. The patriarch said get out, and everyone else just let it happen. Only my younger sister who worked there knows what happened, and we are very close. We both just don't talk to our family. My wife and I are way better off and super happy. I made more money last year than I ever would have imagined, and I'm my own boss. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.